Coming up on Rob at Home, the personal story of Sacramento City Council member Mai Vang, a child of Hmong refugees living the dreams of her ancestors.
My parents came here with nothing and did everything they could to provide food and clothing for our family. So, at a really young age, I saw firsthand how, how poverty really impacted families.
An impact that would change the course of Mai Vang's life, leading her to history-making public service and life lessons along the way.
Sorry, I'm gonna start crying. Like if I could go back and tell Mai that in that moment she felt different, that it was that difference that was gonna make her incredibly powerful and give her superpowers to heal and to serve and to love her family and community. That's what I would tell her.
My conversation with Councilmember Mai Vang coming up next on Rob at Home.
And now, Rob on the Road, exploring Northern California.
And I am thrilled to introduce our guest today, Councilmember Mai Vang. Great to see you here on Rob at Home. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rob. It's a pleasure to be on here today. I just want to thank you for inviting me to join you virtually, to be in space with you and to share my story, our Sacramento story.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to have you. And I want to say that you are, as we mentioned, historic for Sacramento, the first Asian American woman elected to city council. Were you surprised by that you're the first?
Yeah, I ran not to be the first Asian woman on the city council. I ran because I love this community so deeply. We are in 2021, and I was a little shocked because I was like, I know we've had Asian American electeds on the city council, but perhaps we've also had Asian American women. And when my team just did a little, history research, we learned very quickly that they were all Asian American men. Our district is incredibly diverse and beautiful, and I'm just so honored to have the privilege to represent a community that I grew up in, born and raised. So
we have a picture, speaking of that, of you and your parents, you as a baby right there in front of your home in Oak Park, and you are a child of Hmong refugees. And I want to say this, in a very literal sense. Your family crawled through a jungle to get here.
Yeah, Mom and Dad are refugees. And so they came here as teenagers, as refugee, and I was their first daughter, first of 16 children in the family. I'm the oldest. So I have 6 sisters and 9 brothers. But yeah, my parents came here as refugees when they were in their teenage years. And it was really tough growing up. It was really hard. My parents came here with nothing and did everything they could to provide food and clothing for our family. So, at a really young age, I saw firsthand how, how poverty really impacted families. But I always share this story. I actually didn't know that I was poor until, and I say financially poor because while, our family was financially poor, we were wealthy in terms of family relationships, right? We, our family loved each other. We had a big family. And so while we didn't have all the financial resources, we had each other, and that got us through every single day, every month, and every year. But the first time that I actually knew that I was a little different was actually in the 3rd grade when I remember during recess, a classmate had mentioned that she was going to go to the grocery store with her mom and asked all of us, if you bring $1 the next day, I can take the $1 to the grocery store with my mom and buy you all chips. And so that night I went into my parents' room. I went into my mom's purse, so lesson learned, don't ever steal from your parents. But I took $1 out of my mom's purse, and the next day during recess, everybody huddled on the blacktop, and I pulled out my dollar, and I was in a circle, and there was a quick silence, and then one of the girls said, "She's poor. She's on food stamps." And at that time, I didn't know the difference between, you know, a green dollar bill or a food stamp. They were all just money, right? And in that moment, all the kids were laughing. And I remember sitting on the blacktop in the corner, just crying, trying to understand what was going on, but knew at that moment that I was different. Although when I look back on the situation, I'm like, how did she know that was food stamp? You know, maybe she also grew up in poverty as well, right? But at a young age, I really internalized poverty. I was that good, obedient Hmong daughter, but always questioned internally, like, you know, why do we have to live in this neighborhood? When I'm walking my siblings to this bus stop, you know, I see condoms and needles on the street. In the middle of the night, I hear gunshots, right? Those were my childhood growing up. And I really, at a young age, internalized poverty and wanted to leave Sacramento. When I was a high school student, I got a full ride to go to college. And at that time, it wasn't because I wanted to get a college degree. It was because I wanted to leave Sacramento and leave everything behind me.
And I'm going to say this as I hope accurately and culturally sensitive as I can, but for the eldest child in a Hmong family, that carries tremendous weight as the organizer, the caretaker, the umbrella, if you will. Am I accurate?
Absolutely. You know, you always get these projects when you were a kid in like fourth or fifth grade, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And my answer was always like, I wanted to be mom and dad. All I really wanted to do was to take care of my family and my community. And in some ways, when I think about it, you know, I didn't grow up to be a doctor, which is what my parents wanted me to do. But in some ways, I'm doing what you know, fourth, fifth grade Mai wanted to do, is take care of family and community. I'm doing that now in this role as a public servant, serving this community that I love. And so I feel incredibly blessed to come around full circle 360 to do what I thought I wanted to do when I was a fourth grader, which is to take care of family and community. And that's what I'm doing now. So incredibly grateful for that.
I find it very interesting that, yes, you went away to college and you have then followed that up with 2 master's degrees. And you wanted to come back to Sacramento because I've heard that you said, what is all of this worth if I can't go back to the place I came from and help make it better?
Absolutely. Like I share with you, Rob, you know, the reason why I left Sacramento was because of poverty, but it's also poverty. Poverty is the reason why I returned back home too, to make sure that family and community was okay, right? Came back to Sacramento and realized our educational outcomes, access to healthcare, access to opportunities were not great. And what me, you know, as a first in my family to go to college, to get 2 master's degree and come back and our community is still struggling. What good is that college degree if our families and our community still struggling? And so, you know, I moved back to take care of my family and started organizing in South Sacramento to really help collectively build political power in South Sacramento to make sure that electeds didn't ignore communities that are often left behind. And so I became an organizer when I came back, started a nonprofit called HIP, Hmong Innovating Politics, with my friends and my colleagues. And we started with money in a shoebox underneath someone's bed, and now we're a statewide organization. You know, we're doing everything we can to reach the hardest to reach communities to make sure that, you know, they get vaccinated, they get all the information they need so that our families and our neighborhoods can come out of this happier, healthier, and stronger. It is truly a 360. And so, but I always think it's because the ancestors are always watching, you know, watching and guiding, and things don't happen. It's not a coincidence. I think, you know, I truly believe in the universe. I believe that when your heart's in the right place, things will line up. And if you're here to really fight for the people, you know, things will come your way, right? Will come your way to the community.
So now, after what you just said, I'm throwing all my questions out the window, because that right there is the glue and the magic to life, is looking for those signs, those universal winks that you just mentioned, and following them. What are some of the signs along the way that you saw that you feel were tailor-made for you, that you knew that growing up with a lot of siblings and being the organizer, the umbrella there, would then come into modern day today with you having such a seat to represent so many people in Sacramento. It's almost like the approach you took with your family and being a caretaker is the same approach you take to taking care of Sacramento.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is, obviously a big part of it is, I think also my upbringing with my family, my parents, but my elders too. I have deep, humble respect for my elders. I think oftentimes, when we're trying to make a decision, we go to policymakers or folks who maybe have law degrees or PhDs, but oftentimes our elders are wise beyond their years. They may have never attended college or have a college degree, but they've been in these institutions, they've lived this world, they've learned to also find common ground with friends and with colleagues, right? And so I'm always learning from our elders about how to find common ground and bring people along with you when you're making decisions. So, I give mad shout out to them. Yeah, when you work hard and you're all about the fight for the people, the universe will align itself in very mysterious ways. And I'm just always so grateful, right? I always try to put my full heart and hustle forward. That's our hashtag during the campaign is heart and hustle, right? If you have the passion, the hard work ethic, I truly believe everything will align. Win or lose, you've already won, right? Which is what I always encourage young folks to run for office. They're like, what if I don't win? And I would tell them, if you run for office, you've already won because you've already changed the dynamic of the race. You've already changed the conversation. And if your opponent wins, he or she or they're going to carry some of your platform ideals because y'all will have to debate, find out what's the best solution. So you're already changing the political landscape by just being who you are and just for your mere existence, right?
You mentioned heart and hustle, and there was a lot of that from your entire family and the community. And on your swearing in, I watched so many phenomenal interviews with you. You spoke first in English, and then you spoke in Hmong. And about halfway through your talk in Hmong, you got very emotional. It felt like that. And I have no idea what you were saying, but I cried watching you say that because I knew it matters so deeply. And I'd just like to know what that was you were feeling.
Yeah, in that moment, I was just saying to the community just how much I love this city, how much I love its people, and how much I love the Hmong community, and how far we've come to be in this moment. And I wanted to let them know that they have an advocate at City Hall that looks like them, that speaks their language, that understands their lived struggles, right?
So important.
Yeah, and so, I got a little teary-eyed because I was just thinking about like all the folks I met in my lifetime, or even a senior, oh my God, I'm gonna tear up. A senior that I met when my mom and I was in the campaign trail, we would go in front of like small niche supermarkets and put a table out and share a little bit about my campaign. And there was an elderly Hmong woman who came out and she poured out her purse, everything that was from her purse, and there was $1.37 in there, and she gave me her $1.37. And in Hmong, she said to me, this is all she ever wished for, was to see one of her daughters to be able to run for office. That's the reason why she, fled the war to be here. And it was $1.37, but it was the most amazing $1.37 and blessings I've ever received, right? It's moments like that I think about when I'm being sworn in, or when I'm having to make really tough decisions, or when I'm sitting in the seat, I think about them a lot, right? Because they're the reason why I do what I do. They're the reason why I stay hungry to help create a better world for them and their children and their grandchildren, and for my siblings. I want to be able to leave this world a better place. And how do I do that? Through policy, through fighting a system that I know hasn't been built for some of us. And so we have to make sure we do everything we can to make sure that no community is left behind. And I'm going to keep doing that. So.
You mentioned the lady that gave you that $1.37. And I want to bring up something that is just sickening. And that is the tremendous rise that we have seen in hate crimes toward Asian Americans. What is your message to people who are facing discrimination and hateful words and looks and crimes? Because I know people who are afraid to leave their house.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, Rob, thanks. So several things. One, I think finding the courage to speak up and to share your experience, because when you do that, it encourages others to report and share their experience as well. So that's one thing that I think we can do. The other piece, I would say, for our non-Asian siblings, brothers and sisters, is to rise up and to also speak out, right? That it shouldn't just be Asian Americans speaking out on these issues, but to stand in solidarity with us and to say this is not okay and to condemn it. There's a large Hmong community here.
So I'd like to ask you. You mentioned the lady that gave you $1.37. Have you seen her again?
I have not seen her. But my mom has. My mom has at the grocery store. When mom goes, she would share with me that she's seen that lady several times, and she'll be asking, how's Mai doing? We see her on the news or on YouTube, on Facebook. And so my mom would tell me that she's pretty proud. Mom's proud, but also the elderly lady who gave me $1.37.
And I think that lady represents so much and so many people. What would you say to her right now?
I would say that I would let her know I'm just so grateful for her unconditional love and support. And I really hope I can continue to make her proud. And that it is folks like her that have actually paved the way so that I could be here to serve this incredible community. Without her, without my parents, without our elders, we wouldn't be here today.
I'm also very interested because it stuck with me from the beginning of our conversation, and I can't get it out of my head. And I think there's a reason for that, and that is what happened to you on the playground with that dollar,
Mm-hmm.
right?
The food stamps, yeah.
And I just wonder what now, as council member Mai Vang, with all that you've accomplished, what would you say to that little Mai who was bullied then? Because ultimately, this is what you would be saying to many kids.
Yeah, that's a really great question. If I saw Mai today and she was crying, and she was, she was crying on that playground and holding her dollar food stamp, I will tell her to rise up and to let her know that, her uniqueness and her difference, what makes her different is actually what's going to make her so powerful. Sorry, I'm going to start crying. Like if I could go back and tell Mai that in that moment she felt different, that it was that difference that was going to make her incredibly powerful and give her superpowers to heal and to serve and to love her family and community. That's what I would tell her. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. My hope is that everybody who is hearing this will share what Mai just said with a kid who needs to hear that.
Yeah.
A kid who is experiencing that today.
Yeah.
Or someone with that kid in heart.
Yeah.
As an adult who's still experiencing that today.
Yeah.
It's good. It's just good. And I'm so grateful for your perspective. To the adults who have had those painful looks where or you think you know what someone is thinking and judging for no reason. Whether you're right or wrong, if they're doing it or not, that feeling is real.
Mm-hmm.
what would you say to inspire people who have just had it?
You mean like just burnt out or?
Here, just done with the junk of people looking at each other for their external differences instead of their internal beauty.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. I would say, you know, in moments of crisis, in moments when you're really deep in those moments, I would say, you know, because I do believe that there's always hope in every chaos, in every mess, like you said, Rob, right? Your mess is your message. I think what I would share is like, how do I use this one moment right now to really transform myself and everything around me? How can I turn this one situation into something that's good for the community? And sometimes it's hard, like you're in it so deep that you don't see it, right? But I think learning to take a step back, reflect, and make time for yourself. That's really key. I'm learning that too, that self-reflection, the self-preservation, the healing is really key in order for us to be able to do this work or to continue your own work in your family, in your communities. You also have to make time for yourself. That's so critical. And I'm still learning that. So,
I
yeah.
want to ask you about Miss Crowder.
Yes, Miss Crowder. Oh, wow. Where to even start? I mean, she is so incredible.
A mentor, a teacher that had a huge impact on your life.
Yeah, a mentor, a teacher that, and I know there are so many Miss Crowders out there in the world. And I hope to be as awesome Miss Crowder when I get older too. Yeah, Miss Crowder, she was my high school teacher, and she worked with me every Tuesday and Thursday night until 11 o'clock on college applications, on scholarship, and drove me home. That's what she did overtime from what, you know, what teachers are not paid for, right? And she told me that if I was going to go to college, it was going to be my one ticket out of Sacramento. And so I was eager to get out of Sacramento because I wanted to leave Sacramento because of poverty, but it was also being educated and going to get my college degree that a light bulb went on. And I was like, I got to go back home. Right. I started understanding how systems work, you know, how displacement, why was it that we settled in a certain area? Why was it that my family was poor? Why, right? You start learning about all of that. And it was a light bulb. That's the reason why I'm also a big proponent of ethnic studies, Rob. You know, as a school board, as a school board member, I voted for, as an organizer, I organized for ethnic studies at Sac City Unified School District. And as a school board member, I got to vote for it to be a requirement. And I'm such a big proponent because I think if, you know, little 4th, 5th grade Mai knew about her history, if our young people knew about their lived struggles, they wouldn't internalize, internalize everything that they're going through, really understanding how complex their struggle is and the reason why they are where they are. Like if I had known about my own history at a young age, I don't think I would have internalized poverty the way that I have. And it was because I went to college that I learned about my own people and started doing research that I was just like, wow, blown away. And I really wish every young person knew about their own roots and their own history, because it really will help them build that confidence and really believe in themselves at a young age, which is what all of our young people need.
You know, there's a through line in your life that I see so clearly, and that is, and it's a Maya Angelou quote. And it's when you learn, you teach. You know, when you know better, you do better. And a lot of us, it takes a long time to do that, but you do that very quickly. And I applaud you for that. And I've always wanted this show to show this program to show the power of one, what one person can do. And you have shown that so well as the people who have been in your life one at a time.
Yeah. Thanks, Rob. You know, I just really appreciate you inviting me here to share my story. But I do feel like, again, like my story, it's my story, but it's truly everyone's story too, right? There are components of my own lived experience that I think, I've heard, or when I hear other folks' story, I hear some components of my story in theirs too, right? And so, and I will also say, the success that I have today, and I still say, I would say struggle and success. A big part of it is not because it's just me, although I think folks always give me a shout out, but it's really the entire village that has supported me to get here in this moment. My family, my community, my mentors, my teachers, my elders, there's no way I could be here today without them. And so I'm just so grateful to each and every one of them for paving the way for me, holding me up and saying, Mai, you can keep going. You're going to do this. It takes an entire village to raise one child, right? And I'm that one child that took an entire village. And so it's going to take that. It's going to take an entire village to raise so many more children. And we have to make sure we all do our part. So.
Thank you for opening your heart and talking about your personal story, because I knew that it would be very, very tempting for you, because it's what you do, to talk about others and to help others. But I wanted to know you, and now I do, and I see you so clearly, and I thank you for all that you do.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Councilmember Mai Vang, right here joining us on Rob at Home, Sacramento City Council. Great to see you, and thank you for everything.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Stay safe. Stay healthy.